Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
And how about Emma? So when did you start making shoes? Or when did you start coming to the shop, let's say?
So
How
I
long
was
has it been?
homeschooled growing up.
Okay,
So
okay.
all throughout high school, my dad would be like, "Oh, just come bring your school up to the shop and you can, hang out. I don't want to be by myself." And for like the first month, I was like, "I don't want to go. Like, no, please." I mean, it's cool. I really like it, but it's just I can't, really do anything. I have to focus. Well, then as kind of months turned into years, I was like, wow, I've watched my dad from the beginning to the end make a boot, and now I can name all the steps. I can I can visualize it. I can now do it, and just it kind of started with me like sitting in the back after I'd finished my school early, and I would practice stitching. And for me, it was very therapeutic. Like I don't know why, I just feel like it really clicked with me. I would could sit there for hours and hours and just practice and get better and better. And I still have my first stitch panel from when I was 14.
Oh, wow, that's great. And how old are you now?
I turned 19 in February.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so 5 years. That's a long time. And I just saw the watermelon inspired boots just recently. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Where did you get your inspiration from?
So actually, one of our really good customer friends came in, and they have had multiple pairs done, and they wanted to do a surprise boot for their mother. And so they had recently bought property, and they had a little watermelon garden. And it was very special to them, so they built it, and they came in, and my dad was talking to them, and they designed a whole boot with the watermelon fields and with the beautiful colors, and it was just really fun. And it has a really personal story, and I could connect with it because of how good friends we had became over this time.
Right. And then, so those boots were not just for you, actually. It was actually for a client. I see. Yeah. Do you work on any shoes for yourself?
Yes. So right now, the watermelon boots are like my first pair that I had ever stitched top to bottom. That I had cut all the material, I skived it, and I've practiced on my own, and I've done that, but that was the first one for that I felt very comfortable in for a client. And they turned out beautiful. Right now, I'm working on a pair of I'm trying to, it's hard to make time, but I'm planning a design for a tops for mine. It's going to be kind of detailed with inlay and a lot of colors.
A lot of colors. Great. That's so great. So out of all the boot tops you've made or practiced, which one was your favorite? Is that watermelon one, does that top it?
Yeah, that's my favorite. I just love that boot all around. It's just very personal to me, and I feel like I did the best, and I love the customers. So I really just had a great time with that boot.
That's so great. Do you also do the lasting and as well?
So right now, I'm just focusing on top making. I want to learn how to do that completely. So I want to learn how to cut tops, assemble them, attach the vamps and counters, and get the measurement system down. And I feel like that in itself is very difficult, just to kind of learn and take your time. But Holly has kind of inspired me to really branch out and try lasting and try doing bottom work. My dad's always done that, and even seeing, like, I know some people from Lee Miller's shop, the women, Charlotte and Dana. I'm just like, wow, it's possible, I'm not really...
absolutely.
Yeah, I always say, like, she was asking about it once. She's like, do you really think I could do it? And I was like, well, if I can do it, you can do it.
Like, okay, I think I can do it then.
Oh, that's so great. Yes, do it. I'm cheering from... Yes! I'll be cheering from New York.
Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think you guys would do differently after this virus? Do you feel like some things would change, or do you feel like you guys would kind of keep on with your creations? Do you feel like even the business side, I guess that's different, but are you doing anything differently to prepare, or do you feel like it's okay? Everything will kind of settle back.
I think we're okay right now, but then again, we're on backlog. So a lot of our orders that we've taken are from months ago. So we probably won't see, until a couple months, we're like, oh, we didn't take any measurements because no one wanted to come in from March to May.
That's what we
Right.
for ourselves.
So that's when we're gonna make boots for ourselves.
Right, right. Yeah, it's kind of nice to have that balance a little bit sometimes, you know,
For sure.
have time for yourself. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask Stefan, but I guess it's okay. Where do you see yourselves in the next 5 years, say? Like, what would you like to be doing in 5 years?
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
But better, I think.
Same thing, but better. And I think just kind of getting more, like, I kind of look at Lulu in a way, like looking at how he has had the group all come together and we're talking and we're being more impactful and
Uh-huh.
just saying, yeah.
It's me. I'm back.
Hi.
I'm back.
Hi.
We're asking about our
So what do we do?
We're telling fortune.
Our future? Our what?
Fortune.
Oh,
Fortune.
our future
No, future, yes.
as a
Like
boot
the
maker.
next 5, yeah, like in the next 5 years, what would you like to be doing?
I want to be
and-
vacationing in Hawaii. I want to. No, I'm just kidding. But well, I think that it's really hard to say. I mean, I think about I think about Yo-Yo Ma was a famous cello player, and he was asked once that question, and they were asking him about what does he practice 8 hours a day. He's a genius, and I'm not saying I'm Yo-Yo Ma bootmaker, okay, but what he said was the details, and it was the little details of the harmonics and other things that he could not ignore in his playing that made a mistake that no one could hear. And I think that's, as a craftsman, that's kind of the way that it is. You're never doing anything right. No matter how many years I've been around bootmakers, some of the greatest men in my life that I've been able to sit in their shop, I'm with, and yet I go have dinner with them, or what, and that's all they talk about is, well, you know, I could have did this better, or man, you know, well, you know, I wish I would have changed that. Or when they see a boot come in that was 2 or 3 years before it needs a repair, it's the first thing they say is they're looking at the side seam or something, going, man, you know, you know, and it's just, and it's part of, I think, the beauty of custom boot making. There's a bootmaker here, and they were talking about, you know, scanning measurements and stuff, and there's a bootmaker in Houston that does it. But and as a customer, when you take the craftsman out of the equation, you take all of the risk out of the equation. And when you do that, a custom boot has no value. When I used to buy boots, it was amazing to me that a human being that was flawed could build something that I couldn't detect error on. And even when I did, I'm like, this is great. This is for me. A guy made it. So the risk in boot making and the potential for error being so high, or shoemaking, is what makes the product so valuable.
Yeah, and the process so interesting and fun too.
So I don't know. I think 5 years for me would be to get more organized and to focus more on those harmonic details, and to get these two at a place where they're very confident in the trade, able to generate a salary, where their lifestyle is very, that's one of the hardest things to do. So I've tried to build a business along with in a trade like this, and I've tried to merge those two to where Emma and now Holly can see themselves in a definitive future. Now, whether that means they branch into something, I'll be there to help them. I'll be there to support her.
Oh, that's so great.
In fact, I wanted to make me some clothes.
Yes, why not? And your hat. Somebody actually commented that they love your hat.
Oh, wonderful.
That you're wearing.
It's for sale. It's for sale. No.
Yeah, and maybe all right. What somebody Mrs. Victoria, oh, is that Victoria Parker? Is that your family?
Yes.
I'm not sure. There's a go Emma. But for the girls too, what's the leather that you would love to work with and you haven't tried yet?
Whoever.
It's kind of good. I've always wanted to make my pair an ostrich pair of boots, just because I feel like it's very unique and it's very soft and supple. The customer that's came in is really like the way they fit. So I've always maybe for that.
Yeah.
Well, looking forward to the future photos. And Holly too. Do you have any material that you're like, oh, I want to try that?
I I think ostrich also. I have a pair of ostrich Lucchese boots, and they like just like the way they feel and kind of that like soft suppleness is like something that I really like. So maybe yeah, down the line.
That is so great. Oh, and I'm gonna just look through the list to just see if there's anybody with questions. Actually, there's one person. What is your process for stacking leather heels?
So our process for stacking leather heels is very simple. Montello heel stacks them for us. Okay. So we use a pre-stacked heel that we deal with Montello heel. Anybody can access them if they're willing to buy the minimum quantity. The longer you build a relationship with them, the more versatile you can request certain things. And so we request certain things to be made, and us, along with some another custom boot maker, buy from them and get heels stacked a certain way that would be equivalent, and in some cases better than what I could stack them here. And so because of the our focus on other processes, we don't stack our heel bases. Well, we stack some. You know, we're talking, when we talk about using a pre-stacked heel base, we're using that primarily on a certain, you know, certain size boots that only fit in a certain parameter. So if we're building larger size boots or straight back heel boots or things of that nature, then we're going to be stacking those heels just like you'd stack them in any process, you know, in any other shop that's still stacking heels.
Some people have asked in the past, I think some people were like, oh, do you use nails or pegs for the heels?
Okay, so we use, so if you individually stack the heel bases, you can do it with pegs, and that makes more sense. If you're going to be putting on a pre-stacked heel base, unfortunately, you can't use pegs in that process because of the thickness of the heel base pre-made. And so you wouldn't use pegs at that point. You would just go ahead and use nails. And so we do use nails in our process. We do use some brass tacks and things of that nature in our process as well, along with wood pegging in the shank and other areas like that where there's no plate on the last.
Thank you. Yeah, we saw the last room with a lot of shelves with last. Did you develop the shape for your kind of like your, it's not
system.
A ready to wear, but yeah, for your system. Yeah,
so,
and you have a whole size run, which is amazing.
Right, and so what I did was I tried to buy, because you can do this several ways, and like I was saying earlier, when I was apprenticing or doing other things, I tried to adopt certain things from those boot makers and not tell me everything that you know. I went in and said, hey, what do you do here? And that's where we want to talk. I want to just deal with this. I want to know whatever you're doing here, teach me. And I want to spend a week or two here doing this and not everything you do. And I looked over the shoulder in the other rooms, obviously, but I focused on what that specific thing was. And so when it came to lasts, if it's not broke, you know, don't fix it. And so there are guys out there like Lee Miller, like Dave Wheeler, and that have developed their own lasts that are really phenomenal. And meaning they've already worked all the kinks out. So like if I developed a last tomorrow and I was basing it on a Lucchese 1976 model or something, I would then have to adopt that into my process and then spend a couple of years or months working out the kinks of how my measurement system, my cutting system then adopts itself to that mold. And so when I went and trained, whenever I learned, for instance, using Dave Wheeler's last models, which his father and him have adapted over a period of some, I don't know, 50 years. And I was able to just alongside him adopt my pattern system to that mold, to where I kind of know how everything falls and everything where it should be, and kind of the increments between the ball and the waist, or the instep or high instep, which helps me better select the last in the beginning. I'm going to change a lot of that along the way. But nonetheless, it helps me figure out where to begin. It gives me a better starting point. And that's where you get your advantage as a boot maker. You know, is the tools you have at the beginning are going to carry you further, more effectively into the end. That's why some shops take 3 measurements of the foot and I know others take, 15, 20, 80, whatever. And the more information that you have and the more precise you are in the beginning are going to just give you additional tools, even if unnecessary, whenever you start, the fire shot goes and you start the process.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Do you modify the last with leather sometimes?
yes, always.
Yeah.
Every last is
Always.
modified
To the customer.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. It's beautiful shop you have over there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you for also the education as well, and like passing down the knowledge to Holly and Emma, and that's great.
Yes.
And do you take, I also ask this to other people too, but do you take apprentices as well, and students maybe?
Absolutely.
More.
If there's anything, I encourage anybody that maybe sees something that I say or hears it or whatever, and they think, if I'm available on the end of a phone call or a message or whatever, and if it's anybody, and I'm a very young bootmaker in this business, and I'm relatively new to be running a full-time shop with a staff that's paid, and it's difficult, but it's possible. And I've learned along the way a lot of the tricks that can make that possible, because and so but my advice,
marriage between business and the craft.
Yes, and there has to be you have to develop that unity at some point, because the craftsman can be so connected to his product that it's worth billions, or he can be so unrealistic that he doesn't even value his time and wants to give it away. And so there has to be a happy medium there where he's able to critically analyze his work sufficiently to make sure that he's estimating himself properly in the marketplace. Is there a price starting point for boots? I've been asked that 1,000 times. The answer is, it's what you would pay for your own work. If the best advice that I give when I'm asked from a young bootmaker, shoemaker, or table maker, what should I charge? How much would you pay to put it in your own house? Because as a customer, I've paid thousands of dollars to have a pair of boots made. So when I charge for what we do, it's what I would go pay if I walked into a boot shop like mine.
Right.
And so I encourage every craftsman to save money if they haven't sold, if they're not, in a business themselves, and figure out what they would actually go spend, what they would neglect in order to buy on their end, and whatever that is where they need to make that boot price point at. Because if you're building way over what you'd spend, there's a disconnect, because you're not really confident that that's even worth it. Right. So, and so that's something to consider as well. But, I know this council, these things can go on for years, I realize, but.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
H. Crip Custom says, love what you do. It's art, it's creativity. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I think I'll end it for now today.
Wonderful. Yes.
But I look forward to seeing all your creations in the future. And thank you so much for taking your time today with me.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
And good luck to everybody. I really look forward to everything that comes out of your shop.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Doing your thing.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you for watching. All right, and